you're here. Yeah, we're so glad you're here. Oh, we're so glad to be together in unity.
You want to?
Let's give her a hand.
Oh, how is everybody this morning? Good. Well, we were talking about my talk because for the last couple of weeks we have been talking about how to live from your joy in order to find your purpose. And that is a wonderful thing, wonderful thing. But I want to get real this morning. In a show of honesty, raise your hand if you have ever decided that one more episode was a good idea at midnight. How many, with a raise of your hand, would say that you announced a new healthy eating plan and then had dessert for breakfast by day 2? How many, with a show of hands, swore you'd meditate and instead reorganized your sock drawer? How many, with a show of hands, knew that texting that person was going to create drama and you hit send anyway? Ah, yes, my people. My people. So we talk about living from joy, but sometimes we do these things. And all of this is not just procrastination. It's not just, avoiding something. It is something deeper, something almost artistic in its creativity. It's the act of self-sabotage. Now, if those things didn't relate to any of you, this talk might not be for you, but I'll bet there'll be somebody in your life that it will fit. But as I said, yes, my people. I think it will fit everyone. There is a deliberate self-sabotage, almost like a conscious rebellion that we sometimes do. The I know better, but here I go behavior. I clearly see the edge of the cliff, and I say to myself, let me see how fast I can run to get there. Can you relate to that? Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt that? You sit in the silence. You feel a clear nudge from spirit, a knowing of what to do, of what to release. And a part of you says, fascinating. Now watch me do the exact opposite. And then there is that kind of sabotage where you think you're doing everything right. You think you're living from that place of inner joy, but something inside is silently blocking your good. It's like pressing the brake and the gas pedal at the same time. But here's the truth. It's all part of the sacred, sometimes messy, and utterly human journey of an awakening spiritually. Self-sabotage at its core is not a desire for failure. It's a attempt at self-protection. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So this morning, we're going to look at 4 individuals from the Bible who were spiritually gifted, divinely called, and profoundly loved people, and still found ingenious ways to trip themselves up, saboteur, and giving us a unique path back to our true Christ self. So we're going to start this morning with looking at the impulsive self, and we're going to do this mirrored through the life of Peter. We're all familiar with Peter, one of the disciples. Peter's life is a master class in getting in your own way. If the disciples were a personality test, Peter would probably be enthusiasm level 100. He is brave, he is capable of thinking before he speaks. He also has a little issue with anger. If he had a theme song, it might be, "Oops, I did it again." So let's set the scene. It's the Last Supper. Jesus, the most perceptive person and who probably ever lived, looks at his friends and says, "Might succeed." Peter feels like a hero who cannot possibly fail. He's not just committing to Jesus, he's committing to an idealized version of himself. We could call him Super Peter. He's braver, anger, and a catastrophic failure to understand the assignment that Jesus gave them. Unconditional love. Jesus immediately says, "Put your sword away." And he heals the man's ear. Peter's sabotage here is action without understanding. It's kind of like that hammer looking for a nail syndrome. He's so desperate to be the hero with a physical sword. How often do we do this? We see a problem in a relationship and we bring a sword of criticism. We see a problem at work and we bring a sword of gossip or control. We're being actively loyal, but that loyalty is to our own downfall. Now we come to the courtyard. Jesus is inside. He's on trial. Peter's outside by a fire, trying to be invisible. And a servant girl points at him and says, "You were with him." The pressure that Peter felt in that moment must have been immense. The fear of failure, the fear of being exposed, the fear of the sword being turned on him. And in that moment, the idealized Super Peter vaporizes, and the real terrified Peter takes over. And he says, "I don't know what you're talking about." He denies him. He does this not just once, but 3 times. And then the rooster crows, just as Jesus had said would happen. So this is the ultimate self-sabotage. He promised he would do the very thing that he did. Why? Because the fear of the pain of being arrested, tortured, and crucified was more powerful in that moment than the fear of failing his promise. His brain chose the certainty of moral failure over the uncertainty of physical pain. It was a brutal, misguided act of self-preservation. Our takeaway from Peter is the recognition that I sabotage myself when I react from fear or emotion instead of responding from spirit. So what can I do? I can engage in the holy pause, that sacred breath that exists between the impulse and the action. Now, I used to deny that existed, because back when I was battling anger issues, I would say to James, "No, I just go from a 0 to 100 in a split second." No, there is a space between that reaction. There is a space. And in that space of breath, we can ask ourselves, is this going to be a reaction from my fearful personality, or is this going to be a response from my spirit? So it's just taking that moment, that holy pause, to reflect on what it is you're about to do. You know you have a moment when your thumb is hovering over that send button on that text. You know there's a moment there, right? So next, let's talk about the avoidance self, and this is mirrored through the story of Jonah. Everyone familiar with the story of Jonah? Jonah and the whale. Well, Jonah might be referred to as the patron saint of I'll get to it later. Any patron saints of I'll get to it later? God says to him, go to Nineveh. And Jonah says, I hear you, but also, no thank you. Nope, ain't gonna do it. And he buys a ticket in the opposite direction. This is the spiritual equivalent of have the hard conversation and you suddenly decide to reorganize the pantry, or begin your healing journey and you say, sure, right after I clean out the garage, right? Jonah is us when we know exactly what we need to do, but we avoid it, we postpone it, we delay it, or deny it, or distract ourselves from it. This is the saboteur of avoidance, and it's one of the most sophisticated forms of self-sabotage. We can spiritualize it like a pro. Oh, I'm waiting for a sign. Or, I'm just surrendered. Or, Mercury is in retrograde. But deep down, we are simply afraid. Afraid of failure, of rejection, sometimes of our own magnificent power. When I was in college and that term paper was due, I could not sit down to write that term paper until every dish was clean, every load of laundry was done, the floors were swept, the beds were made, everything. Yeah, it's great to have a clean house. That's not what was driving me. I really don't want to sit down and do this. Let me put it off as long as I can. Let me distract myself with something else, right? Jonah represents the soul refusing its call. When the storm comes up, it's not a punishment. It's the universe providing him some feedback. The whale is not a prison. It is the womb of darkness, the forced retreat where he can no longer run. He is stuck in there for 3 days. He can't get away. He has to reflect on what he's done. Our takeaway from Jonah is the realization that I sabotage myself when I avoid my calling, my power, my authenticity, my growth. Peace can return when I turn around and run in the direction of the truth. Run in the direction of my truth. Run in the direction of my Nineveh. So now we come to Samson. His story is a masterclass in repeating a destructive pattern and hoping for a different result. I don't know anything about this one. He's a man anointed with a supernatural strength in his hair, and yet he is crippled by a profound lack of self-awareness. So let me tell you how this looks. Samson is overcome by the thralls of Delilah. She keeps saying, Samson, honey, I love you so much. Tell me the secret of your strength. And he tells her something, but it's not the truth. And what does she do? She runs out and she says, I know the secret. Come. And they come, and no, that didn't take away his strength. She does this 3 times. And poor Samson falls for it every single time. You want to shout to him, Samson, buddy, see the pattern. You know, this woman is not your friend. Wake up. And don't we all have that friend who we internally say that to. Why can't you just see what you're doing? How many of us have been that friend where someone's going, why can't you just see what you're doing, right? It's the saboteur of unconsciousness. It's not a conscious choice to fail. It's that sneaky old software that's running in the background. Generational trauma, core wounds, subconscious beliefs that whisper, you're not worthy, or that love is painful. Our takeaway from Samson is understanding that I sabotage myself when I reenact unhealed patterns. Samson's hair was a symbol of his connection to the divine. That's where his strength was. And when he allows Delilah, who's symbolic of those unhealed places, to cut it, he severs that connection. Samson, the story gets even worse. He was then blinded. He had his eyes gouged out. And he was chained to a wheel and forced to grind grain as a slave. So if you can just see that picture, imagine going around and around, unable to see, tethered with a stone around your neck. Whew. Is that how we feel when we get stuck in a pattern sometimes? I'm just going around and around. I can't see how I'm supposed to do anything differently. I've got this thing just hanging on me. It's like I can't get loose from it. So awareness is what restores us. We have to bring the light of conscious attention to our deepest, darkest patterns. Sometimes when we see a pattern, we're a little afraid to explore it. We want to stuff it in the closet and act like it doesn't exist. But to ask yourself, why do I keep choosing this? What old wound does this soothe? Because ultimately there is a payoff in behaving the way we do. There's some kind of an emotional payoff. In that light, the pattern loses its power, and our divine strength regenerates, just as Samson's hair did. Our final journey is into the life of David. Now, David was called a man after God's own heart. But David's life was a roller coaster of epic highs and really devastating lows. We first see David in Scripture as a gentle shepherd boy. He's out tending his sheep and he's singing, he's writing songs to them, he's praising the divine creator and writing all this beautiful stuff. And through a series of events, he winds up facing Goliath, the big giant. So Goliath, they're in a war, and Goliath is trash talking. And David's response is pure, unshakable faith. He says, "You come against me with the sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord." There is zero sabotage here. Why? Because David is in a state of flow and alignment, and this is his epic high. He takes that slingshot and he hits Goliath right between the eyes, right? He goes on to become king, a very wealthy, well-to-do king. Do you know what a concubine is? It's kind of an archaic word. David had 600 of them. He was not lacking for female attention. But at the height of his power, he sees a beautiful woman bathing on the rooftop. He finds out she's married, but he's got to have her. So he sends for her anyway. He sleeps with her. She gets pregnant. This is like a soap opera, right? She gets pregnant. He tries to cover it up by bringing her husband Uriah home from war, and he thinks, oh, Uriah will come home, he'll sleep with her, and then when it's revealed that she's pregnant, it'll be his. We'll assume that it's his. Well, Uriah is a loyal soldier, and he refuses to return to the comfort of home. He wants to stay out there on the battle lines. So what does David do? This is a clear case of the fix being worse than the actual thing that started it, right? In a final horrific act of sabotage, he sends Uriah to the front lines and tells the other members of the army that when the clash happens, that they are to step back and let him take the brunt of that, assuring that he will be killed in battle. This is the ego running wild. It's entitlement. It's the belief that the rules don't apply to him. He's not listening to the quiet voice of spirit because the roar of immediate gratification is too loud. He's actively, knowingly making a series of disastrous choices. This is the saboteur of emotional overload. This is when a temporary feeling, a feeling of loneliness, anger, lust, fear, usurps the throne of your soul and makes decisions for you. You know better. You want better. But in that moment, the emotion is driving the car. I have a sugar problem. I have a real sweet tooth. I love sweets. One of my very favorite things is a coconut cream pie. I have done this. Close your ears because you don't know this story. I have gone into the grocery store and said to myself, I am not buying anything sweet. I'm going to be a good girl. I'm not going to buy anything sweet. And when I get in there, I'm going to purposely avoid the frozen food aisle where they keep the Marie Callender's coconut cream pies. You said it. By the time I get to that section of the store, it's like, well, maybe I'll just see what else they have. And I find myself strolling down that aisle anyway. I open that case. I take out that pie. Saying to myself, my doctor's going to hate me for this. My numbers are going to lie, or they're going to tell on me. And I put it in my cart, and I take it home, and I eat the whole daggone thing. I told you I have a problem with sugar. That's kind of that, what am I feeding? There's something else there that's looking to be soothed, isn't there? Yeah, I know it's about corrupting our taste buds and wanting sweet stuff, but there's something else there. So imagine you were hurt as a child, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, however it was. These negative core beliefs get formed, and you unknowingly enlist a loyal soldier whose mission became, don't get hurt again, don't be seen too much, Don't trust love. Don't expect too big, because big dreams create big disappointments. This soldier saved you once, but now you're an adult trying to build the life you pray for, and the soldier is still guarding the gates like there's a war going on. He hears opportunity knocking and whispers, danger, might fail, might be judged. Stay small, stay safe. He's not evil, he's loyal, but he's out of date. And he will shut down the very blessing that you want. When an opportunity for success arises, a promotion, a healthy relationship, whatever that is, it creates a cognitive dissonance, a clash between the external reality of I am succeeding with this internal belief that I am a failure. And to resolve this uncomfortable dissonance, the subconscious mind will orchestrate a failure to make the external world align with the internal beliefs. That's why it's so important to work on those internal beliefs. This restores a sense of predictability and control, even if it's a negative one. So if we look beneath all four of these stories and beneath our own story, we find that every pattern of sabotage can be traced back to three core fears. First, there's the fear of failure. This is the classic driver. We want to protect ourselves from shame. And then there's the fear of success. And this is a sneaky one because success means higher expectations. What if I get the promotion and I can't handle the job? What if the relationship gets serious and I'm not enough? Success changes our identity, and that's terrifying. Peter couldn't handle the identity of the guy who dies with Jesus, so he sabotaged it. And then thirdly, the comfort of the familiar. Even a negative identity can feel like home. The person who thinks, I'm just a failure, will find ways to make that true because it's a known, predictable state. It's the devil that you know. So hold your hands out in front of you. And clench your fists just as tight as you can. I mean, really, really tight. This is what self-sabotage feels like. It's tension. It's control. It's us white-knuckling our lives, trying to force an outcome or protect ourselves from pain. But you can't receive anything with a clenched fist. The solution to self-sabotage isn't to clench harder. It's to learn how to open your hands. Doesn't that feel better? So now we know what self-sabotage looks like, and we understand a bit about why we do it. But what do I do about it? Well, I'm so glad you asked. We've met our saboteurs. We've seen them in Peter, Jonah, Samson, and David. We've felt our own fists clench. The path forward isn't about beating these parts into submission. It's about compassionately retraining them. It's about unclenching the fist finger by finger so that we can receive the grace and guidance that's always available, that inner joy that we want to live from, that we want to be guided by. So here are 4 tools, one for each saboteur to help you begin. For the impulsive Peter, if that is where you find yourself, again, that sacred, holy pause. When you feel that impulsive urge to send that text, to snap in anger, to avoid a task with distraction, stop and take one deep, conscious breath. And in that space, ask the question that I mentioned earlier. Is this a reaction from my fearful personality, or is it a response from spirit? And for really high-stakes situations, use the 10-second rule. Before acting, count to 10. I did this a lot when I was working with my anger issues. In that space, counting to 10. This creates just enough space for your prefrontal cortex, which is your wise adult self, to catch up with your amygdala, which is your reactive, fear-based brain. So that's for impulsive Peter. For the avoidant Jonah, try the 5-minute takeoff. The task you're avoiding feels like a mountain. When I sat down to do those term papers, they felt like mountains. Your mission is not to climb the mountain today. Your mission is to take one single 5-minute step. Don't clean the whole garage. Set a timer for 5 minutes and just clear one shelf. Don't write the whole term paper. Just open the document and write 3 sentences. Get it started. The miracle of the 5-minute takeoff is that action creates momentum. And often once you start, you find it easier to keep going. You break the paralysis of the whale's belly by taking one small action toward Nineveh. For the unconscious Samson, the "why do I keep choosing this" journal prompt might help you. Samson's problem was that lack of awareness, right? So we build awareness by getting the pattern out of our heads and into the open. And one of the ways that we can do that is when you find yourself repeating a behavior you know is bad for you, grab a journal and ask 2 questions. 1, what is the old story or the old comfort that this pattern is trying to give me? And the second question, if I let go of this pattern, what am I truly afraid might happen? What am I truly afraid might happen? For example, I might succeed and then have to live up to it, right? Writing this down robs the pattern of its hidden power. Finally, for the emotional David, naming the storm. When a powerful emotion like anger, anxiety, tries to take the wheel, don't suppress it, but rather name it. This is a practice for mindfulness. Instead of saying, "I am angry," say, "I notice the presence of anger." And instead of "I am anxious," try, "A feeling of anxiety is visiting me right now." This simple linguistic shift creates a critical distance. Remember, you are not the storm. You are the lighthouse observing the storm. In that space, you can ask, "Hello, emotion, anger, anxiety. What are you here to teach me? What do you need?" This prevents the emotional hijack and allows you to stay in connection to spirit. So your sabotage patterns do not disqualify you, they develop you. They are the very curriculum of your awakening. Peter, Jonah, Samson, David, they all rose from those actions that they took. Peter became the what was called the rock of the early church. Jonah's preaching, when he finally got there, saved a city. And in his blindness, Samson's faith returned and he fulfilled his purpose. And David, sweet David, after profound soul-searching, crying out, you can read many of the Psalms and know that this was an internal response to what he had just gone through. He was restored as the leader and wrote all those beautiful Psalms that bring us comfort. So the saboteur is not your enemy. It's a frightened, misguided, but ultimately loyal part of you that has learned to protect you in the best way that it knew how. So your job is not to go to war with it, but to gently, patiently, and consistently lead it to spirit, to trade the clenched fist of control for the open hand of receptivity. So this week, When you feel the old patterns rise, because they will, right? Don't despair. See them for what they are. The impulse, the avoidance, the emotion. And in that moment of seeing, you have a choice. Take the sacred pause. Make the 5-minute start. Ask the honest question. Name the passing storm. Remember, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. You are divinely called, spiritually gifted, and profoundly loved. And nothing, not even your most ingenious self-sabotage, can ever change that. Myrtle Fillmore said, "You are a child of God, and it is your right to be all that you were created to be." So let's affirm together. I release the old patterns. I welcome the new life. I walk as my divine self. All right, take a breath of that. We're going to move into our meditation. So we're going to lower the lights. So just settle into your space. And bring your awareness to your breath. Simply notice the air flowing in and flowing out. There's no need to force or to control it. Just allow the natural rhythm of your body. And with each exhale, imagine letting go of a layer of the day's busyness. A layer of anything that may be residing on the edges of your thoughts. And with each inhale, imagine drawing in a sense of calm presence. And in your mind's eye, I invite you to imagine a lighthouse standing strong on a coastline. And this lighthouse is your spirit, your true Christ self. Steady, radiant, unwavering. And now imagine the weather around the lighthouse. This is the weather of your life and your inner world. Just for a moment, see Peter's storm of impulse. A sudden, sharp squall of wind and rain, urging you to act without thinking. See what that looks like. And now see Jonah's thick fog of avoidance, a heavy gray mist that descends and obscures the path forward, making everything feel distant, maybe making it feel unclean. See that for a moment. And now feel Samson's cycle of blindness, like being in the dark inner chamber of the lighthouse, walking in circles, unable to see or find your way out. And finally, feel or see David's roaring temper of emotion, a tempest of powerful waves crashing against the shore, crashing against the lighthouse. Threatening to pull you out to sea. For a moment, simply observe these weather patterns. You are not the storm. You are not the fog or the darkness. You are the lighthouse. Your foundation is solid. Your light is eternal. So connect with the steady, calm presence at your very core. Your purpose is not to stop the storm, to stop the weather, but just to shine your light upon it, from within it. So bring your attention to the beacon at the top of your lighthouse. This is that light of your conscious awareness. See how its powerful beams spread over the landscape. And taking a deep breath in, as you exhale, imagine lighting this brilliant lamp. And in the space created with this light, breathe in, I am the lighthouse. Breathe out, my light shines clearly. Breathe in, I observe the weather. Breathe out, I am not the weather. And feel the stability of your being. That impulsive storm can't shake you. That fog of avoidance can't dim you. And that circular blindness is illuminated by your own beam. And the emotional tempest is witnessed by your steady presence. From your steady, radiant lighthouse, your beam extends naturally. It's a beam of compassion, one of peace, one of healing. So we first turn this beam toward our loved ones, family, friends, those dear to your heart. If there's anyone you're thinking of this morning, see their faces illuminated in this gentle golden light and see them finding their own center, their own inner stability, and silently send them this blessing. May you remember your own inner light. May you be held in peace and know that you are loved. And now let your lighthouse beam expand wider and farther. Let it sweep across the entire world. See it touching communities that are in conflict, individuals in pain, and all who feel lost in their own storms. See the light connecting with countless other lighthouses, creating a net of radiant, conscious peace across the planet. Offer a blessing for our world. Feel the truth of your being, this luminous, steady presence. Place your hand over your heart, feeling the gentle rhythm that echoes your internal light. And from this centered place, I invite you to repeat these affirmations, either silently or aloud. I am not my storms. I am the lighthouse that stands steady through them all. My saboteurs are not my enemies. They are old weather patterns that I now illuminate with my love. I walk as my divine self, guided by my inner light, today and always. Take a nice deep breath and slowly and gently begin to bring your awareness back, wiggling your fingers and your toes, feeling the physical support of the chair beneath you. Taking one more nice deep breath, maybe a stretch. And when you're ready, open your eyes, carrying the steady presence with you. Thank you so much for your attention this morning.